My name is Phil Hall. I've written a book called Killdeer, published by BookThug. It's the fourth in the Department of Critical Thought series. Killdeer is a book of essays or poems. Essay poems. I needed longer form. I think of them as poems, but a lot of people who don't read poems will think of them as essays, because they are critical thought in the sense that I write about other people's work, literary criticism, about old friends of mine like Bronwen Wallace, and I write about becoming a poet, write about people I like and dislike, and why. It's a strange thing. It's like a sandpiper, but it doesn't live by water. It lives in the open field. It lays its eggs in a nest right where you might step on it. So if you're walking in a field, you'll see it. A little nest with 3 or 4 speckled brown eggs in it. They're camouflaged, so you wouldn't know it if you did. And the parent birds, what they do is they hang around. And if a cow or a fox or a person or whatever comes too close to the nest, they start pretending to have a broken wing. And they bend it cockeyed and they flop themselves around on their shoulder on the ground, and they make this weird cry, like this, to lead whatever the predator is, or the idiot, in my case, off from the nest. And I come out of a formal romantic closure tradition, as all of us do, or used to, and I realized that, like Irving Layton saying, "I turned away and wept," it's a kind of lying to impose on the reader the heightened nobility of your own feeling. In this book, I call that emotional fascism. So the Killdeer, I came to realize that writing a standard poem, that's what I was doing, is I was trying to impress the reader with the nobility of my feeling. And for one thing, that disregards theirs. It says, I'm a finer feeler than you are, is what a lot of poems say, right? I don't like that. So the Killdeer came to represent that for me. The way people flop around on stage and say, my pain, and, you know, yeah. Some of the pieces turn out to be homages, so I like that I'm actually getting a chance to honor people who are important to me, like Nicky Drumbolis, Bronwen Wallace, Margaret Laurence, Libby Scheier. I talk about the Great Canadian Poetry Weekend that used to happen up at Collingwood in the summers. Great gatherings of all the poets then. It's good to be able to pass that history back to people. When I was 21, in the summertime up north around Bobcaygeon, I fairly foolishly and without much preparation, I hitchhiked over to Lakefield to meet Margaret Laurence because I found a piece in the Globe and Mail about the Diviners and that she was living there. So I thought I'd go over and meet her, and it was important that I did, but I was imposing myself, you know, to show up on a Sunday morning, expect to be treated, you know, as if I had a right to be there, you know. I know who you are, so let me in. So I write about that as becoming a poet and people who were important to me then. I write about Bronwen Wallace, who was my friend, first in Windsor and then later as we moved around, her to Kingston and me to Vancouver. Because she died of cancer too early, just when she had gotten rolling with her good poems, I write about how her poems don't seem so good anymore, and not just to me. I write about what 20 years can do to what seemed like exciting writing then. The different responses students have to those same poems now. So I write about her and how important she was to me, and where the traditions that she represented have gone, like the collectivity of the citizen. She was a woman who not only wrote against things and for things, but she was also a woman who chained herself to the chairs with other people in the visiting gallery at the Parliament to protest certain things. That tradition is being foregone, so I write about that. Libby Scheier and I were an item for a while, and I write about a trip that her and I took to New York. And that's an essay that maybe is a homage to Libby, but probably is a poem about how difficult it is for two people to treat each other well when you're both messed up. And I write a homage to Nicky Drumbolis, because he seems to be one of the last cultural heroes for his gathering impulse to hold it all. They started out, most of the essay poems started out as papers presented at conferences or talks given at writing workshops or various places where I've been invited. So as talks or papers, and I wasn't happy with the formal nature of those, so I have worked them out, given them more air, and moved from the block of the standard paragraph to using phrases and sentences as actual stanzas, and then I build them in sequence by cutting and pasting them into long strips and spreading them out on the floor or on the wall so I can see the shape of them and move them around as if I were doing a montage or a visual artwork as well. I don't know who my ideal reader would be, but I do know that I don't believe anymore in anticipating my audience and then figuring out what to say to please them, or to dummy down what seems to work best for me because I know my audience is working class or public school or high school, or if I'm invited to a university, then should I throw in some, you know, I don't think that works anymore. So my ideal reader is anyone who's willing to accept that I'm sharing my blessing of focus.